In this video, we're going to answer the question of how to make big money through trading. And since many people mistakenly believe that you can earn such an amount in just a few days, it's also a mistake to think that it takes years to reach these figures. Actually, that's not the case. It's simply systematic work. And now, in this video, we'll break down how to achieve exactly these kinds of results. So, let's get to the video, you could say, to this complete manual. But first, I want to remind you that we have an elite community where we share signals with our subscribers every day. If you want to copy our signals, then message our managers with the phrase, "I want to become an elite member." The guys will add you to our private channel, and then you'll be able to copy our signals. This community isn't for everyone, it's only for our subscribers. So make sure to subscribe, and then you'll be able to join this channel. For all the details, go to our support account and ask the team there how exactly you can get into this channel. Then you'll be able to copy up to 16 signals a day. And basically, you can see the stats right now. In other words, these are pretty solid winning sessions. So, the link to the support account will be in the description. But let's keep going. Let's start by opening a trade and looking at an example. So, for example, if you don't have some kind of super advanced knowledge, then obviously, you shouldn't be gambling in the trading casino and opening trades for $5,000 or $10,000. You need to start with something more down to earth. For example, $100 per trade or $200 per trade. So, for example, I'm a beginner and it doesn't matter what my current balance is. Let's say it's $5,000, but accordingly, $200 isn't that big of an amount for me, and I start with that amount. Next, again, since I'm a beginner, I want to quickly get a signal with the booster bot, for example. So, I choose the currency pair Australian dollar/Canadian dollar. Next, I need to select the same currency pair in the booster bot and set the trade duration. Let's say, for example, 1 minute. I get a buy signal and open a buy trade for 1 minute right from here. So, as a beginner, I first need to get some practice. And most importantly, understand that practice doesn't mean you need to open, say, 1,000 trades a day. No, it's enough to open 10 to 20 trades a day, and it should be consistent. So you figure out your days. For example, Monday, or maybe Wednesday and Friday. That is, 3 days a week or 5 days a week. But you understand clearly that you have at least, say, 3 days when you work, and at most, for example, 5 days, but no more. You don't need to sit in front of the chart every day. You need to take breaks sometimes. And another important thing to understand is that you shouldn't open too few trades either. So, for example, if you open just 1 trade a week, obviously, you won't make any profit. You need to open, as I said, at least, well, maybe not even at least, about 50 trades a week. That's when you'll actually see some kind of result. How do you work with large amounts of money? If you're just getting used to this, if you still don't know what trading is, how technical analysis works for us, how different indicators behave, then you need to study all of that. Yeah, the easiest way, of course, is to, for example, use our robot or any of our tools and start making money with them. But if you want to learn on your own, then you need to do it differently. For example, you pick one tool, let's say it's just a horizontal level, and try to set aside a few hours for yourself. Set aside exactly 2 hours just for the level. Now, let's look at this tool from a beginner's perspective. What is it? And how do I work with it? So, for example, I'm testing levels, and I need to find a currency pair that has good levels. For instance, here we go. Start with something simple first. That is, with those moments where you can clearly see the levels. Yes, here we have a good touch, so I understand this is a pretty strong level, but the price is far away from it. So I can wait until the price comes into this area and, accordingly, enter, for example, on a bounce. So, in order to really learn trading properly and start making good money from it, you need to study this tool. How do you do that? You need to open about 20 trades using only this level. That way, you'll understand how it works. You'll already have this tool in your arsenal. Next, for example, you add some indicators to this tool. It could be any indicator, maybe something heavy like Ikimoku, for example, or it could be something light, like the RSI. So, you start by adding 2 tools, then 3, then 4. And at this point, you can start raising your stakes. So, you need to lay the foundation. Again, right now we're talking specifically about your foundation. In other words, we're only talking about big money when you actually understand how all of this works. Not when, for example, you confidently open 10 trades on just one tool. No, that's a mistaken belief. You need to know and have a solid foundation, and to build that foundation, you need to practice. Again, open between 10 and 20 trades in a single trading day. And in this way, literally in 2, 3, or 4 weeks, you'll reach the level where you understand how the chart moves, how the levels work, and how to use different indicators. So that's already a basic level, and that's when you can start increasing your stakes. That's when you can raise your risk management. But at the beginning, you need to understand, you don't need to trade, for example, like many people like to do, with just 0.01%. No, that's not right. And it's also wrong to trade, for example, with your entire amount. If you go all in when trading, nothing good will come of it either. So, I set aside a certain balance for myself. Like I said at the beginning, it could be $200, it could be $500, so not very large amounts. And then you gradually increase them. For example, let's look at an example. Now, I'm a more confident beginner. I already have a foundation. I know how to work with levels and with RSI, and, accordingly, I'm ready to trade. Let's look at an example of such a trade from a beginner's perspective. For instance, I see a situation on the Euro-British pound pair. The price is reaching the upper level, and the RSI is in the upper zone, so I didn't even set anything up here. I was just watching this movement, seeing that there's a level here, and I understand that we're about to bounce back. Here, I used two factors. The first is that we have a level here, and it's pretty strong, as I see it. First of all, the price has already touched it before, and now we've touched it again and couldn't break through. And secondly, the RSI is right near the overbought zone. So, we should now observe a pretty significant downward movement. As you can clearly see, my detailed analysis turned out to be absolutely correct, and I successfully made a substantial profit of $325 from this particular trade. So once again, you don't need any rocket science knowledge. You don't need to rush around. The most important thing to remember is that you need just a few tools that you know really well, and they'll give you the opportunity to earn. And when you have a whole arsenal of strategies and a lot of indicators, that's when you can really start talking about big money and earnings, like $50,000 a month, $100,000 a month. These aren't some astronomical amounts. This is reality. You just need to have a lot of perseverance. You're not in a rush. You know your strategies. You know all your tools. But to do this, you need to have at least 4 to 6 tools at your disposal. Next, you should be making about 50 trades a week, and your stats should be at around 70% successful trades. That's exactly when everything will start coming together for you. Again, to achieve this, you need to start with just one thing. So, pick one tool first, make 10 trades with it, and look at the stats. If your success rate is 50%, you can either skip this tool or try to improve it somehow. If, for example, it's 40%, just skip it altogether. If this tool gives you 80% positive trades, then you keep it. Congratulations, you found your first tool. Next, you do the same with the second, third, fourth, and so on. Open 10 or 20 trades with each, and you'll end up with your own completed table. So, for example, you work well with levels, you work well with RSI, but say, with the ADX indicator, you just don't get how it works. So, you don't waste your time on it and simply forget about it. The next important step is patience and managing your emotions. If you get overly emotional, like when things are going great and you go all in, or when things are bad and you stop taking any risks, only putting 1% on a trade, then you're not going to see big money in trading. What you need here is stability and to keep your emotions in check. Let's take a look at the next level. So, for example, as an advanced user, I'll open a trade for $1,000 right now, and we'll look at a more advanced analysis. The next stage is a complete analysis of the chart without any tools, just reading the chart and the volume. This is actually the simplest level, but you have to work your way up to it. And as I said, you don't reach this level in a week or even in a year. If you practice, you can get there in just a couple of months. And this is actually quite a professional level. Look, for example, here's the British pound and the Swiss franc. We can open a sell trade right from here. By the way, if we look at the RSI indicator, it's currently in the overbought zone, so this is the area where we open sell trades. In other words, you'll really be able to read the chart very quickly, just by looking at it. What did I see here? We had a very large accumulation zone here. Here we have a resistance level, and it's quite a significant one. The price makes an impulse move and comes up to this level. So, I see that the volumes are dropping, and with these volumes, the price is unlikely to break through our level right now. That's why we'll most likely just get a pullback movement here. It's unclear to what level. You have to watch the situation as it develops. But at the very least, the fact that we'll get a bounce here is definitely true. That's why I opened my trade for 1 minute to sell. And to be able to read the chart this easily, you first need to use the basic tools, the standard indicators, and then, over time, you'll learn to actually read and see the chart. Honestly, it's the easiest thing, but you only get there with practice. So, what do I recommend to you? First of all, practice. Set aside specific days for yourself to work. For example, 3 or 5 days a week. How many trades do you open? If you set a plan for yourself, like you need to open, say, 10 trades a day. Did you open 10 trades? That's it. After that, you don't trade anymore, you analyze. That is, you look, for example, here you have your analytics, and accordingly, you see what you did well and what you did poorly. Then, the next day, you put all of this into practice and open another 10 trades. And accordingly, if you follow such a simple manual, such a straightforward setup, don't take big risks, and also aren't afraid to trade with just $1, then honestly, you can really reach 50,000, even 70,000. These aren't astronomical amounts. So really, you can make a lot of money in trading, but you need perseverance, and you have to be completely emotionless, no positive or negative emotions. And of course, the most important thing is practice. Just a reminder, you'll find more tools through the links in the description. A link to the trading bot, a link to our elite club where you can simply copy trades and learn from our expertise. And you'll find even more in our Telegram channel. In short, I'm leaving all the useful links in the description. With that, I'll say goodbye for now. Be sure to rate this video, whether you liked it or not. What do you think about all this? And I'll see you in the next videos.